Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Luna Base, her weathered face reflecting off the reinforced glass as she watched Earth gleam like a jewel in the void. After 30 years of service, she never tired of this view. But today, that beautiful blue marble filled her with dread. The quantum communications array had intercepted the message 3 days ago. The Kryvax Empire, a civilization of conquerors that had subjugated half the known galaxy, had finally turned their attention to humanity's corner of space. Their invasion fleet would arrive in less than 2 weeks. Humanity had known about the Kryvax for years through intercepted transmissions and refugee accounts. They were methodical in their conquest, unstoppable in their advance. Hundreds of civilizations, many far more advanced than humanity, had fallen before their might. The Kryvax left no survivors, only broken worlds stripped of resources and history. "Admiral, the Council is ready." Commander Jackson's voice pulled her from her thoughts. She turned from the window, squaring her shoulders. In the emergency bunker 200 meters below, the United Earth Defense Council waited to hear humanity's last hope for survival. The lift ride down was silent. Chen's mind wandered to the classified files she'd reviewed earlier that morning, detailed accounts of Kryvax conquest patterns. Their standard procedure was to send an overwhelming force of 300 warships against any civilization they deemed a potential threat. Conventional military analysis gave humanity zero chance of survival. But humanity hadn't survived this long by accepting conventional wisdom. The bunker was carved from lunar rock, reinforced with meters of quantum-stabilized alloys. Around the circular table sat the 12 members of the Defense Council, representing Earth's unified military forces. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. "Admiral Chen," General Santos began, "you called this emergency session. The floor is yours." Chen activated the holographic display at the center of the table. The image of a sleek warship materialized, smooth lines and dark metal that seemed to drink in the light. "This is the HSS Defiant. For the past 15 years, we've been developing technology that breaks every rule we thought we knew about physics. We've kept it hidden, knowing that if we ever faced an external threat, surprise would be our only advantage." The council members leaned forward as Chen continued, "The Defiant isn't just our most advanced ship. It's a testament to human ingenuity. We've developed quantum technology that allows us to bend spacetime in ways that should be impossible. The ship's AI core can process battlefield data faster than any organic mind. Its weapon systems, well, let's just say we've learned how to weaponize the fabric of reality itself." "One ship?" General Santos's voice was incredulous. "Against 300 Kryvax warships?" "Yes." Chen's voice was firm. "Because we have one advantage the Kryvax have never faced, they don't know what we're capable of. They've conquered so many worlds, they've become predictable. They expect resistance, but they expect it to follow patterns they understand. The Defiant breaks every pattern." She gestured, and the hologram changed to show tactical simulations. "We've run thousands of scenarios. Conventional warfare is suicide. But a single ship, one they can't predict or counter, piloted by our best crew. That gives us a fighting chance. And if we fail?" The question came from Admiral Patel, her old friend and occasional rival. "Then we fail knowing we threw everything we had at them. But I don't intend to fail." Chen's eyes swept the room. "The Kryvax have never faced humanity before. They don't know that our entire history is filled with smaller forces defeating larger ones through innovation and sheer determination. They don't know that backing us into a corner is the worst mistake they could make." The room fell silent as the council members exchanged glances. They all knew the stakes. Every simulation showed that a conventional defense would result in Earth's destruction. The Defiant was an insane gamble, but it was the only gamble they had left. "Who will command the mission?" Santos asked finally. "I will." Chen's response was immediate. "I've overseen the Defiant's development from the beginning. I know her capabilities better than anyone. More importantly, I know her limitations. The council deliberated for less than an hour. In the end, the vote was unanimous. Humanity would place its hopes in a single ship and its crew, trusting in their ability to do the impossible. As Chen rode the lift back to the surface, her mind was already racing through preparations. They had 2 weeks to ready the Defiant, select her crew, and prepare for a mission that would determine the fate of not just humanity, but countless enslaved civilizations across the galaxy. At the observation deck, she paused one last time to look at Earth. Somewhere down there, billions of people were going about their lives, unaware that their fate now rested on the shoulders of a few hundred sailors in one very special ship. Well, she muttered to herself, a grim smile touching her lips, they wanted to see what humanity is capable of. I guess we'll show them. Deep within the asteroid belt, hidden in a hollowed-out planetoid designated only as Site X, Dr. Elena Rodriguez traced her hand along the Defiant's hull. After 15 years of work, the ship still filled her with wonder. The outer material wasn't metal, not really, it was a quantum-engineered metamaterial that could adapt its properties on the fly, making the ship nearly impossible to lock onto with conventional weapons. Final diagnostics are complete, Dr. James Way, her longtime colleague, approached with a tablet displaying streams of data. The quantum core is stable, and the AI integration tests exceeded our expectations. Again. Aria's been busy, Elena smiled, referring to the ship's advanced recursive intelligence array. Unlike traditional AIs, Aria had been developed specifically to manage the Defiant's revolutionary systems. The quantum processing core allowed it to make decisions in microseconds, predicting and adapting to threats faster than any human could. The development of the Defiant had been humanity's greatest secret. After first detecting signs of the Kryvax Empire 12 years ago, Earth's leaders had realized that conventional military technology would be useless against such an advanced threat. They needed something revolutionary, something that would change the rules of space combat entirely. Project Prometheus was born from that desperate need. Named after the mythological figure who gave fire to humanity, it brought together the finest minds from every field, quantum physics, artificial intelligence, weapons development, and dozens more. Their mission was simple but seemingly impossible: develop technology so advanced it would appear like magic to their enemies. Elena led James through the ship's central corridor toward the quantum core chamber. Remember when we first cracked quantum field manipulation? She asked, nostalgia creeping into her voice. Everyone said it was impossible to maintain a stable field at that scale. Everyone was wrong, James replied. Just like they were wrong about the possibility of consciousness emerging in quantum systems, or about the theoretical limits of energy weapon yields. He paused, looking through a viewport at the swirling energy of the quantum core. We've broken pretty much every rule in physics to build this ship. The Defiant's heart was its quantum core, a contained singularity that powered systems that defied conventional understanding. The ship could bend space around itself, creating gravitational lenses that made targeting nearly impossible. Its weapon systems manipulated quantum fields to create effects that bordered on the supernatural, beams that could pass through any known shielding, warheads that could briefly tear holes in reality itself. But perhaps most revolutionary was the ship's defensive capability. The quantum metamaterial hull, combined with its space-warping field generators, made the Defiant nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons. It could appear to be in one location while actually being in another, could seemingly split into multiple copies, could even briefly phase out of normal spacetime to avoid damage. Dr. Rodriguez? A young engineer interrupted their inspection. Admiral Chen is requesting a final briefing on the ship's capabilities. She's assembling her crew in the main conference room. Elena nodded, gathering her thoughts. How do you explain technology that breaks the laws of physics to people who will have to use it in combat? The Defiant was humanity's masterpiece, but it was also unlike anything any human had ever piloted before. In the conference room, Elena faced the newly assembled crew, the finest pilots, gunners, and officers Earth had to offer. Admiral Chen stood at her side as she began her presentation. "The Defiant isn't just a warship," she explained. "It's a testament to human innovation. Every system on board represents a breakthrough that was considered impossible just years ago. The quantum core allows us to manipulate the fabric of reality itself. The AI system, Aria, can process combat data and adjust the ship's systems faster than human thought. The weapons." She paused, bringing up a holographic display of the ship's main armament. "The weapons do things that even we don't fully understand sometimes." For the next 2 hours, Elena and her team explained the ship's capabilities. They covered the quantum drive that could twist space itself for both propulsion and evasion, the reality-warping weapons that could bypass any known defense, and the integrated AI that could coordinate it all with inhuman precision. "Remember," she concluded, "the Kryvax Empire has conquered countless worlds through technological superiority. But they've never seen technology like this. They've never faced a ship that can turn their understanding of physics against them. And most importantly, they've never faced humanity when our backs are against the wall." Admiral Chen stepped forward. "We launch in 36 hours. Dr. Rodriguez and her team will remain on standby for consultation during the mission. Study your systems, run your simulations. When we face the Kryvax, I want every one of you to be ready to do the impossible." As the crew filed out to begin their final preparations, Elena found herself back at the viewport, staring at the Defiant. The ship represented humanity's greatest achievement, and now it would become their greatest hope. In 36 hours, they would discover if breaking the laws of physics was enough to break the hold of an empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. The fate of Earth would rest in the hands of one ship, one crew, and technology that even its creators sometimes struggled to understand. But if there was one thing Elena had learned in 15 years of impossible breakthroughs, it was that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology, it was their relentless determination to survive against any odds. The void between Saturn and Jupiter rippled as the HSS Defiant emerged from its quantum field. On the bridge, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display as hundreds of red dots materialized. The Kryvax invasion fleet had arrived ahead of schedule. "Aria, full analysis," Chen ordered. The AI's response was immediate, its artificial voice calm and precise. 327 Kryvax vessels detected, Admiral. Configuration matches known invasion fleet patterns. Their technology significantly exceeds standard human capabilities, but is within predicted parameters for our countermeasures. Lieutenant Maria Santos, the ship's tactical officer, studied her displays with growing concern. "They're deploying in attack formation. Energy readings suggest they're charging weapons." Chen allowed herself a grim smile. The Kryvax followed the same pattern with every civilization they encountered: overwhelming force, immediate aggression, no attempts at communication. They'd grown arrogant after centuries of easy victories. "Let's introduce ourselves," Chen said. "Communications, broadcast on all frequencies, full spectrum." The message was brief: "Kryvax Empire, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Forces. You've invaded sovereign human space. Withdraw immediately, or face the consequences." The response came quickly, a barrage of energy weapons fire from the nearest Kryvax ships. But the Defiant was no longer where it had appeared to be. The quantum drive had shifted it 3 kilometers in an instant, the hull's metamaterial surface bending light to maintain the illusion of its original position. "Aria, combat protocols authorized. Show them what we can do." The AI needed no further prompting. The Defiant's quantum weapons came online, reality-warping fields extending around the ship. The first shot looked almost beautiful, a beam of pure white energy that seemed to bend space itself around it. It struck a Kryvax cruiser, passing through its shields as if they didn't exist. The massive vessel split in half, its quantum structure literally torn apart. The Kryvax response was immediate and predictable: their entire fleet turned to focus on the single human vessel that had dared to strike them. Energy beams and projectiles filled space, creating a deadly web that would have annihilated any conventional ship. But the Defiant wasn't conventional. Its quantum fields bent space around incoming fire, creating paths for attacks to flow harmlessly past. Arya coordinated defensive measures with inhuman precision, while simultaneously calculating optimal firing solutions. Multiple targets locked, Santos reported, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Arya has identified vulnerable points in their formation. Execute attack pattern Delta, Chen ordered. Let's show them why you don't underestimate humanity. The Defiant seemed to split into multiple copies, each one appearing to fire at different targets. The Kryvax computers, unable to determine which ship was real, distributed their fire ineffectively. Meanwhile, the actual Defiant had phased slightly out of normal spacetime, its weapons finding gaps in the enemy's defenses that shouldn't have existed. More Kryvax ships fell, their mighty shields useless against weapons that ignored the conventional laws of physics. The survivors began to break formation, their legendary discipline cracking in the face of an enemy they couldn't understand. Enemy vessels are attempting to regroup, Arya reported. They are adopting a defensive posture. Analysis suggests they are preparing to withdraw. Not yet, Chen's voice was hard. They need to understand exactly what they're dealing with. Target their flagship. The Defiant's main quantum cannon powered up, drawing energy directly from the contained singularity at its heart. The beam that emerged wasn't just energy, it was a concentrated stream of altered reality, tearing through space itself to reach its target. The Kryvax flagship, a vessel larger than anything humanity had ever built, simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, erased, its very quantum structure unwritten from reality. The effect on the remaining Kryvax ships was immediate. Their formation dissolved completely as they began emergency jumps away from the battle, leaving behind the wreckage of nearly 40 of their vessels. Enemy fleet is retreating, Admiral, Santos reported, a note of awe in her voice. No pursuit course plotted. They're running. Chen nodded slowly. Arya, damage report. Hull integrity at 97%. Quantum core stable. All systems operating within normal parameters. We have expended 12% of our energy reserves. The bridge crew sat in stunned silence. They had just done what no civilization in recorded history had managed, they had forced a Kryvax invasion fleet to retreat. Send a message to Earth, Chen ordered. First contact successful. Enemy force repelled. The Defiant performed beyond expectations. She paused, considering her next words carefully. But this isn't over. The Kryvax don't accept defeat. They'll be back, with something worse. We need to take the fight to them. As the message was transmitted, Chen studied the tactical display showing the retreat vectors of the Kryvax ships. Their empire had never faced a serious challenge before. They had never needed to adapt or innovate. But humanity had just shattered their illusion of invincibility with a single ship. Plot a course following their retreat vector, she ordered. It's time to show the galaxy that the era of Kryvax dominance is over. Humanity isn't just going to defend itself, we're going to free every world they've enslaved. The Defiant's quantum drive hummed to life, preparing to pursue the retreating invaders. The real war was just beginning, and humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their advanced technology, it was their determination to stand against tyranny, no matter the odds. Deep in Kryvax space, the Defiant glided silently through the debris field of what had once been a planetary defense station. Admiral Chen watched as Arya compiled data from their latest encounter, adding to the growing understanding of their enemy's capabilities and limitations. 17 liberated worlds in 2 weeks, Commander Jackson reported, studying the tactical overlay. Word is spreading through the Empire faster than we can travel. Every enslaved species now knows that the Kryvax can be beaten. The Defiant's journey into enemy territory had become a crusade of liberation. Each conquered world they encountered brought new revelations about the true nature of the Kryvax Empire, and its fundamental weakness. Their technological superiority had made them complacent, reliant on brute force rather than innovation. New transmission intercepted, Arya announced. Multiple sources. The subjugated worlds are beginning to rebel. Kryvax control systems are reporting widespread disruptions. Chen nodded grimly. This had been part of their strategy, not just to attack the Kryvax directly, but to show their slaves that resistance was possible. The myth of Kryvax invincibility had been their greatest weapon, and the Defiant had shattered it. Admiral, Lieutenant Santos called out, her voice urgent. Long-range sensors are detecting a massive energy signature. It's like nothing we've seen before. The tactical display shifted, showing a structure that defied comprehension. An artificial construct the size of a small moon, pulsing with energy readings that made the ship's sensors struggle to maintain focus. The Nexus, Chen breathed. Intelligence gathered from liberated worlds had hinted at its existence, the heart of Kryvax power, where their leadership coordinated their empire's expansion. Until now, its location had remained a mystery. Multiple hostile contacts emerging, Arya reported. The Kryvax are deploying their entire reserve fleet. Count exceeds 1,000 vessels. The bridge crew tensed. They had faced overwhelming odds before, but this was different. The Kryvax had finally abandoned their standard tactics, committing everything to stopping the single human ship that had thrown their empire into chaos. They're afraid, Chen realized aloud. For the first time in their history, they're facing an enemy they don't understand, using technology they can't counter. And it terrifies them. The Defiant's quantum core hummed as Arya began calculating combat solutions. The ship's metamaterial hull shifted, preparing for battle. But Chen held up her hand, stopping the AI from engaging. We're not going to fight them, not directly. Arya, analyze that structure. Find me its weaknesses. The AI's response came quickly. The Nexus appears to be powered by a network of quantum singularities, similar to but vastly larger than our own core. Its control systems are heavily shielded, but the power distribution network shows vulnerabilities. A precisely targeted strike could trigger a cascade failure. And take their entire command structure with it, Chen finished. But we'll have to get past their fleet to reach it. She stood, addressing her crew. Everything we've done, every world we've freed, has led to this moment. The Kryvax built their empire on fear and technological superiority. We've shown the galaxy that they can be beaten. Now we're going to prove that no empire built on oppression can stand against the human spirit. Multiple enemy vessels moving to intercept, Santos reported. They're trying to box us in. Let them try. Chen's voice was steel. Arya, initiate infiltration protocol Omega. Show them why humanity has survived every threat we've ever faced. The Defiant's quantum drive engaged, but instead of moving through space, it began to phase between realities. The technology that Dr. Rodriguez and her team had developed wasn't just about weapons or defenses, it was about rewriting the rules of what was possible. The massive Kryvax fleet found themselves firing at ghosts as the Defiant shifted between quantum states, becoming virtually untraceable. Each time they thought they had it cornered, the ship would seem to pass through solid matter, appearing closer to their precious nexus. Warning, Arya announced. Quantum core operating at 93% capacity. Sustainable operation time in current state, 3 minutes. That's all we need, Chen replied. Target locked on their primary power distribution node. Affirmative. Solution calculated. Fire window opens in 15 seconds. The Defiant phased back into normal space directly above the Nexus, its quantum cannon charged to maximum power. The Kryvax fleet turned desperately to engage, but they were too late. For Earth, Chen said softly. For every world they've enslaved. Fire. The beam that emerged from the Defiant's quantum cannon was unlike anything they'd fired before. It struck the Nexus with surgical precision, boring through its defenses to reach the critical power distribution network. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself seemed to crack as the cascade failure began, the Nexus's quantum singularities collapsing in on themselves. The structure that had stood as the symbol of Kryvak's power for centuries began to tear itself apart. Emergency jump initiated, Arya announced as the Defiant's quantum drive engaged, pulling them away from the imminent explosion. Behind them, the heart of the Kryvak's empire imploded, taking their leadership and command structure with it. As they emerged at a safe distance, the tactical display showed the Kryvak's fleet in disarray. Without the Nexus to coordinate them, without their leaders to give orders, the Empire's greatest armada had become nothing more than a collection of lost ships. Transmitting on all frequencies, Chen ordered. To all Kryvak's vessels, your command structure is gone. Your empire is finished. Stand down, or follow your leaders into oblivion. One by one, the Kryvak's ships began powering down their weapons. In the space of a few minutes, humanity had accomplished what had seemed impossible, they had broken the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known. But Chen knew their work wasn't finished. The liberated worlds would need help rebuilding, and the remnants of the Kryvak's fleet would need to be monitored. Humanity's first steps into the galactic community would be as liberators, not conquerors. Plot a course back to Earth, she ordered. And send a message, the Kryvak's empire has fallen. The galaxy is free. The HSS Defiant emerged from quantum space above Earth, its dark hull reflecting the sun's light as it approached Luna Base. After 3 months in deep space, the ship that had changed the course of galactic history was finally coming home. Admiral Chen stood at her familiar place on the bridge, watching as the welcoming fleet approached, ships from not just Earth, but from dozens of formerly enslaved civilizations. The liberation of the Kryvak's empire had reshaped the galaxy in ways no one could have predicted. Final diplomatic update, Admiral, Commander Jackson reported. The Galactic Reconstruction Council has been formally established. Representatives from 47 liberated worlds will be attending the first summit on Earth next week. The aftermath of the Kryvak's empire's fall had been chaos at first. Centuries of oppression had left deep scars, and many feared that the power vacuum would lead to new conflicts. But something unexpected had emerged from the ashes of empire, hope, and a desire for cooperation. Arya, display final casualty statistics from the campaign, Chen requested. The AI's response was immediate, projecting figures that still seemed impossible: over 1,000 Kryvak's vessels neutralized, 312 worlds freed, and billions of sentient beings liberated, all by a single human warship. Incoming transmission from Luna Base, Santos announced. Dr. Rodriguez is requesting permission to come aboard. She says she has something important to show you. Minutes later, Elena Rodriguez stood in the Defiance conference room, her eyes bright with excitement. We've been studying the data you collected from the Kryvak's Nexus, she explained. Their quantum technology was crude compared to ours, but they had insights we never considered. Combined with what we learned during the campaign. She paused, bringing up a holographic display. We can revolutionize everything: transportation, energy production, communication. The Defiant was just the beginning. And the other species? Chen asked. How are they responding to sharing technology? That's the most remarkable part, Elena smiled. They're not afraid. The way humanity used its advancement, not for conquest, but for liberation, it's changed how they view technological progress. The Galactic Reconstruction Council has already established protocols for sharing scientific knowledge. We're seeing innovations that combine the unique perspectives of dozens of species. The door opened, admitting General Santos and Admiral Patel. Their expressions were solemn but proud. The Council has reached a decision, Santos announced. They're establishing a permanent defensive fleet to maintain peace in former Kryvak space. They want the Defiant to lead it. Chen raised an eyebrow. A human ship? A symbol, Patel corrected. The ship that proved that technological superiority means nothing without the moral courage to use it wisely. Every species in the galaxy has seen what humanity stands for, not just our innovation, but our determination to fight for what's right, no matter the odds. Outside the viewport, Earth glowed like a beacon. Chen remembered standing in this same spot months ago, wondering if she would ever see it again. Now she watched as ships from across the galaxy gathered around her home world, not as conquerors or refugees, but as equals united in the cause of freedom. Send word to the Council, she decided. The Defiant accepts the commission. But we'll need to expand our crew. Every species should be represented. Already arranged, Santos grinned. We have candidates from 30 different worlds requesting to serve. Turns out humanity's reputation for doing the impossible has made us rather popular. Chen turned back to the viewport, watching as a ship from the Centauri Alliance, one of the first worlds they'd liberated, performed a ceremonial pass by the Defiant. Its hull bore the new symbol of the Galactic Reconstruction Council, a bright star breaking through chains. You know, Elena said softly, when we first designed the Defiant, we thought we were creating the ultimate weapon. But in the end, it became something more, a symbol of hope, a reminder that no force in the universe is stronger than the will to be free. The Kryvax never understood that, Chen replied. They thought technology alone made them invincible. They forgot that true strength comes from what you're fighting for, not just what you're fighting with. As if in response, the quantum core hummed softly, its energy pulsing through the ship like a heartbeat. The Defiant had been built to save humanity, but it had done so much more. It had shown the galaxy that the future belonged not to those who sought to dominate, but to those who fought to liberate. The next patrol starts in 48 hours, Chen announced. Let's show our new crew members how humanity does things. After all, she smiled, we have a reputation to maintain. Above Earth, the ships of the newly formed Galactic Defense Fleet began to assemble, their crews united by a shared purpose. The age of empire was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And at the heart of it all was a single human warship that had dared to challenge the impossible, and won.